Hello, I'm Donna Sawyer for the Finance News Network, and joining me from Thor Mining is its chairman and CEO, Mick Billing. Mick, welcome back to FNN.
Hi Donna, thanks for the opportunity to talk again.
Thor Mining has recently announced a significant increase in gold grades at your Spring Hill project in the Northern Territory. What can you tell me about the new higher level assay testing done there?
Yeah, sure. During the last drilling campaign in the dry season, we intersected mineralisation at Spring Hill at pretty good grades, but outside the boundaries of the resource. And also, these intersections, many of them were at levels shallow enough for open pit drilling. We were pretty happy about this, as any relatively shallow extension to an open pit resource is usually pretty good news. Much of our previous work at Spring Hill has been looking for high-grade, deeper extensions to the resource, and this was the first time in the 2 years we've been working on Spring Hill that we looked at the more shallow extensions. Now, the mineralisation at Spring Hill contains a sizable proportion of coarse gold, and this has got a couple of things going for it. First, as a result of that, we could and should be able to recover a fair portion of gold using very cheap gravity recovery methods rather than the more expensive full CIL process. But it also drove us to check some of our fire assay results using the far more comprehensive, screen fire assay method. Now, screen fire assays are generally only of any real use when there's a high proportion of coarse gold. And as I just said, this is what we've got. And the results well and truly exceeded our expectations. And we got upgrade levels in assays for the material between, say, 0.5 gram and 2 grams. The upgrade was a staggering 57%. The material between 2 and 4 grams, 37%, which is also outstanding. Stuff over 4 grams, we did get an upgrade, but to a lesser degree. But these we thought and still believe are outstanding results and far better than we had expected.
So why are these results significant? What does it mean for Thor Mining if that trend is confirmed?
A couple of points there, Donna. These results are quite significant for the areas that we drilled, as it suggests that the mineralisation we discovered outside of the resource boundaries in this last program are possibly of a higher grade than other parts of the resource, and that's a good thing. We then looked back at the history of the assaying results when most of the drilling work at Spring Hill was done 20 years ago by other folk, and very little screen fire assay follow-up was done back then, and unfortunately we don't have the records of what it was first and what it compared with what it became after screen fire. That's not available to us. But if we were able to confirm that this upgrade can be applied to other parts of the resource, the implications for the Spring Hill project are really significant. The amount of gold in the resource estimate could be significantly larger, but probably also very importantly, a relatively modest increase in gold grade should provide a much greater improvement in the amount of gold which is economic to mine and also would give us a much higher profit outcome, both in total terms and in terms of cost per ounce.
And I understand Thor Mining is seeking to increase its interest in Spring Hill. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. We've got a requirement to spend a certain amount of money to qualify to take our interest in this project from 51% to 80%. And given the news we've just talked about, that's something we'd obviously like to do. We're just waiting on some final expenditure reports for confirmation, but we reckon we're just about there. And if that's confirmed, then we'll quickly move to complete the documentation for that.
Finally, Mick, what are you working towards next at your Spring Hill Gold project? What can shareholders look forward to in terms of updates over the coming months?
In the first instance, Donna, the drilling results identified additional mineralisation, It's possible that this could lead to an upgraded resource estimate, and we're looking at whether that is achievable, and there may be a new resource estimate out in the near term, but we're working through what is and is not achievable for that. Secondly, we're going to take some advice about what we should do to verify this fire assay upgrade and its implications for the rest of the deposit. This is critical, and it may involve more field work, or it may involve more lab work, or a bit of both. But at this stage, this news is relatively new, and we're still assessing it. We've also have a proposal in the system to commence mining activities in the short term, including hauling the ore to a nearby processing plant. If we've got a significant upgrade to our resource, the scope of that activity is probably going to change, and we need to work through that fairly carefully. All those things are things we'll be working on over the next 3 or 4 months, and we would expect a supply of news out of those things, hopefully good news. And of course, sitting behind all this, of course, is the gold price, and I guess we ought to remember that the gold price in Aussie dollar terms now is pretty much the same as it was when back 2 or 3 years ago, when the US gold price was about $1,600 an ounce. And it's not often remembered that right now producers of gold are getting about the same amount of profit as they were when the gold price was $1,600 an ounce.
Mick Billing, thanks for the update on Thor Mining.
Thank you, Donna.